Hi everyone, welcome to the third part of GS-1 answer writing session. I am Mudit Jain. By now you must be aware I am IRS of 2018 batch. I am author of Decode Ethics book. I have also written a Decode history book which will deal with world history portion. By the time the video is released, I hope the book is already in market. uh, Before proceeding with the session, I would like to inform that you can download my notes and my answer copies related to the session from my blog, that is Mudijan blog. Also, you can visit my Telegram channel. 10,000 plus aspirants are taking free guidance from me on daily basis, so you can join that. And you can visit my YouTube channel for further exam related strategies. As you can see on the screen, he is one of the most prominent thinkers of sociology. I don't think I need to tell you his name. And this is a pic from analysis of previous year question papers that I did for GS1 Society. The complete analysis of is available on my blog, that is mudijanblog.wordpress.com. So this is a brief info about my books. As you can see on the left, it is about ethics book. It is doing quite well. I hope I'll get better response for my history book. Also, uh, I always wanted to do something for the forces. That is why perhaps I took IPS twice, but then could not complete training. So this is one initiative that I'm coming up with my next book. A part of proceeds that I'll get from book will be donated to Bharat Ke Veer Fund. I'm proud to associate myself with this initiative, and let's see how the book goes. So this is again briefly, this slide discusses that the books will cover theoretical as well as answer writing portions, both the book ethics as well as history. So coming on to the session, as we have already seen in the first couple of sessions, part 1 and part 2, I start with a disclaimer, a very important point for those who have optional as history, geography or society. So as I told you in part 1 and part 2, if your optional subject is history or geography, I'll tell you same. If your optional subject is sociology, you have to be careful. You cannot treat GS paper as an optional subject. You have to ensure that your answers are that of GS and not optional. So you have to focus on dimensions, not depth. So while optional requires depth, GS requires dimensions. Rest of the things broadly remain the same. So in society as well, like geography and history, questions asked have been of three types majorly: 10 mark, 12.5 and 15. In one particular year, perhaps in 2016 or 17, it happened that UPSC gave sub breakage in a question, in couple of questions. Like 12.5 marker question was divided into 5 plus 7.5. There were two parts in question, they were divided. This has not happened for any other paper till date, but this happened. This approach was took place for this approach did take place for society. So, but still major type of questions are 10, 12.5 and 15 marker to be answered in 150, 200 and 250 words in 2.5 or 3 pages, as was for GS history and geography, and in same time, that is 7, 9 or 11 minutes. One difference when it comes to society is that theoretical questions are not asked. Questions are always analytical or current based. I have never come across even a single question in Indian society GS1 that was completely theoretical. So this is one area where you can relax a little because questions are analytical, they are GS based. So rest assured, you can answer each and every single question of Indian society. There is nothing in Indian society that you will miss because question was theoretical. But then patterns keep changing, trends keep evolving. It might happen in next year or 2021 that suddenly a theoretical question comes in society as well. This has happened in geography where questions like mental plume were asked. This has happened in ethics where question like John Rawls social justice theory, seven sins of Gandhi, etc. were asked. So it can happen in society as well. Now, let us briefly see previous year question paper with respect to society, because I have not included this slide in previous sessions. I am including this in society because trends of society are continuously evolving. So, while in 2013 only 4 questions, 10 marker each were asked, this increased gradually to 5 and then to 6, and markers also increased. So 40 marks, 50 marks, and 12.5 into 6 is 75 marks. Okay, so you can see that weightage of society is continuously increasing. Then 5 questions, 12.5 marks. So weightage decreased a little, 62.5 marks. But there were further breakage of marks, as I told you in previous slide. So one question, if it had 2 parts, UPSC had clearly demarcated the marking of those subparts. Then in 2017, 6 questions were oral asked, 2 were 10 marker and 4 were 15 markers. So again, the weightage is, this is 20 and this is 60, 80 marks out of 250 went to society. And then 30 marks plus 60, again 90 marks out of 250 went to society. So weightage is increasing. Then 3 and 60, again 90. So you can say that from 40 to 90, Indian society weightage in GS1 has come a long way. So you cannot skip the topic even though questions are easy. You have to have theoretical knowledge because any day theoretical question can be asked, and anyway we have to use those theoretical inputs in our answer writing. So this is the pic that you saw on the initial slide. In the initial slide, here I have sorted out according to the number of questions asked from a particular topic. So you can see that 11 questions have been asked from features of Indian society. It is a part of syllabus. It is clearly mentioned that features of Indian society, a subtopic in syllabus, 11 questions from themes like kinship, diversity, caste, tolerance, and globalization. Now, kinship, diversity, and caste. If you have gone through my blog, you will find a post, GS-1 Society Study Material. GS-1 Society Study Material. So this post on Mudijjan blog, it has all the study material of IGNOU PDFs. You can easily answer these questions from this PDF itself. So this PDF will take care of most of the static questions, most of the syllabus of society. I referred only these PDFs, these notes and current affairs and some reports, and did not do anything else. I did not refer even single book or any other NCRT. These notes were enough for me. But then now, as many aspirants ask me on my Telegram channel, if this is enough, I cannot take guarantee because trends are ever evolving. It might happen that questions are asked out of this, uh, which are not covered in this PDF. So I cannot take guarantee. Notes are after all notes, and book is something different. So I'll recommend you to go through these notes, download them from my blog, and then also read one or other book. Similarly, for women section, 10 questions have been asked. So women subtopic per se is very important from GS1 point of view. Now it has been linked with social reform. So you can say that this question is mix of modern India plus post independence plus society. So this is a very analytical topic. It is not limited to one subset. So you have to answer various points from across the syllabus. Similarly, patriarchy, you can find ample amount of data of patriarchy, ample amount of knowledge from these PDFs. Women empowerment, this is current based topic. Agriculture, now this is again very analytical question. Women linked with agriculture. So it is a mix of GS3 as well as Indian society. You can also say GS2. So it is a very broad question. Sex ratio. Now I'll, if you watch the video completely, I'll tell you about census. So if you have read census, if you have made notes out of them, you can easily answer such questions because data is required to handle such questions. By the way, census notes are also available on my blog. These are just 8-page notes. I made these notes myself. Again, population related 9 questions have been asked. These have been mix of analytical and static. Communalism, regionalism, secularism, 9 questions. Globalization 5, urbanization 5. So these are broad topics of syllabus, and you can see that major focus has been on these two aspects, but questions from other topics have also been asked. Now this is very important. The line that I have written here, that trends of society are evolving such that integrated preparation of post-independence history and Indian society is required. Now, questions are not only from Indian society topic per se, but linked with society post-independence. So when you study post-independence and society, try to link both the topics, try to connect the dots. This interlinking at time of study will definitely help you in answering such analytical questions which are being asked of late. Now, how to start? If you have watched the previous two videos on geography and history answer writing, this slide is completely same. Most of the slides are same. I'll tell you the fine differences when and where they take place. So you have to read the question. You have to identify the subparts. According to the subparts, you will make different headings. Now you have to identify thinker. This is something new. So society answer is incomplete without mentioning thinker. You have to mention the name of thinker. Uh, some of you might think that this is too technical. You are not from sociology background. How would you remember? Trust me, it is very easy. As you can see, these are just the only these are the broad topics of society. So you have to remember only two names of globalization thinker, two names of thinkers of urbanization, two thinkers of women, two thinkers of Indian society. So overall, you will have around 20 names. I don't think 20 names is a tough task to remember. So identify the subparts, make headings, identify the thinkers that you will mention, then keywords. Keywords, I told you in the previous session of geography as well, that we'll have to write paper specific keywords, PSKs. So I'll give you a list of paper specific keywords. The broad list is available on my blog, that is muditjanblog.wordpress.com. So you can download that list from there. Now coming to the basic format, overall picture still remains the same. This will remain same for entire GS. Now the things that matter the most, I have changed the font, this orange type color. These are the things which you need to focus more when it comes to Indian society questions. So you will write introduction, you will write news background. I won't go into details. I've already told you the importance of intro and news background in the first couple of sessions. If you haven't watched the videos, I'll advise you to go in series. Do not skip videos because there is lot of repetition, and session after session, I'll reduce those repetitions. So you have to start from scratch. So first watch history video, then watch geography, and then society. Do not skip these videos. So you have to write intro, you have to write news background. The keywords that you identified, you have to define them. You further have to add other keywords, at least 4 or 5 other keywords from static syllabus you have to mention in your answers. Now, importance of this, I'll repeat, it is because you have to show the examiner that you have theoretical knowledge. So this helps. I have scored 110, 118 or 117. Thrice I have scored similar 110 type of score in GS-1. I give credit to that, to my answer writing strategy, especially to art of mentioning keywords, reports, examples, diagrams, etc. So keywords, that is paper specific keywords, you have to mention. Thinkers I have already told you. This is very important. You cannot skip it. Now you will make different headings. Answers will be in points and not para. Now I'll again repeat for those who have skipped the videos. When you answer in para, you digress from the issue, you miss dimensions, you tend to flow with the flow. While uh, on the other hand, when you answer in points, you write more dimensions, you stick to the answer structure, you give yourself opportunity to handle each subpart equally. So we'll answer in points. We will number the points 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Will not draw bullets, will not draw asterisk, we will not draw arrows, we'll number the points. I told you in the last video of geography what is the reason of mentioning points. The reason is that when you mention points, you are creating a psychological impact on the examiner when he sees that there are say 3 headings and you have mentioned 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 4. So 5 plus 3, 8, 8 plus 4, 12. So examiner will clearly see that there are 12 points in this answer. Even if he does not like say 3 points, still he will like 9 points. At least he has to like them. Nobody writes damn shit that examiner won't like even say 30%, 50, 60% of points. So if he likes 9 points, he'll rate you on those 9 points. And then you give yourself enough chance to score 6 out of 12. What happens when you write only 7 points in a 12 marker question? If examiner does not like 3 points, he has only 4 points to rate you. UPSC is known to give 50% as max in ideal conditions. Now, you yourself can understand if you have only 4 good points, how much marks will you get out of 12.5? So you'll write points, then paper specific keywords. I've told you, we will underline the important points, important keywords, news background, facts, etc. Whichever point you think is impactful, has certain weight, can give you edge, can give you X factor to your answer, you will underline that point. This is because to attract the eye of examiner to that certain point. Then we'll draw diagrams as I have already told in previous sessions. Reports. Reports, I told you in geography answer writing video as well. But then reports for geography differ from reports of society. Here main focus is on census, socio-economic caste census, SDG, etc., UNDP. So these 4 reports are very important when it comes to Indian society. I'll advise you to download my notes from my blog. There is no need to read entire census. If you do not want to refer my notes, what you can do is uh, search for summary of census on Google. I am damn sure that you will get a summary of 5 or 10 pages. Do read that only. There is no need to read entire census. SECC, you can find it scattered, mentioned in current affairs. So there is no need particularly to read SECC as such. SDGs, again, I am sure everybody is aware of them. UNDP reports you do not have to read, you have to quote. As I told you in the previous videos, focus must be on quoting these reports rather than reading them. I'll come to this part in detail later. And as we do for every question in the end, we'll just write the conclusion in 1 or 2 lines. So now dealing with each and every part in detail. Introduction, you have to define keywords or the terms mentioned in the question in 2 3 lines, not more than that. I hope this is already clear by now. Name of thinker, I've told you to write name of thinker. Now let me give you one example. So in 2019, a question was asked, are we losing our local identity for the global identity? Now, according to me, this question is trying to discuss the dilemma between globalization and globalization's negative effect, that is acculturation. Acul- Acculturation. Now, acculturation is that when you tend to forget your own culture for some other culture. This is blind following or other culture. Assimilation is different. When two cultures assimilate, when you pick some positive aspect of other culture, that is good. But then when you go for blatant westernization, blind westernization, that is acculturation. So this question is trying to ask you on this line, that are we losing our local identity, our local culture for global identity because of globalization? So if globalization is the hidden theme in this question, you have to first define globalization. This takes care of the keywords. We have defined it. Now thinker. So as I mentioned, remember 2 or 3 thinkers for each topic mentioned in the syllabus. For globalization, I used to write Giddens. You will find this in one of the answers that we'll discuss later. It is very easy. G for Giddens, G for globalization. Now, when you define globalization, just write as per Giddens. Globalization means XYZ. Whatever you write in definition does not matter. You have to write the name of thinker. That is what counts. So you are basically bluffing here. So when you say as per Giddens, globalization means, now these dots, these fill in the blanks can be XYZ, it does not matter. What matters is that you have written this. You will get the eye of examiner here itself. So that is the use of thinkers. Now acculturation, I have mentioned this as a keyword here. So you have to define the keywords and mention the name of thinker. Now, in questions that are linked with current affairs, as I told you in geography video, you have to mention news background. Now, use of news background also I told you, this is to tell the examiner that you are aware that why and from where this particular question has been asked. So what happens some at few times, I'll tell you that a question is simply picked from news article. A particular news article becomes a question. Now examiner must be having an answer script to check. So uh, if a question is picked from an article, definitely its answer would be also picked from that same article. Now, if you mention the news background, you are basically telling the examiner that you are very well aware from which article this question has been picked and what you are going to write. So it might well happen that examiner has the answer script, and if you have made those newspaper notes yourself and revised 4 or 5 times, most of your points will match word to word with answer script. I am sure this must have happened with me because I used to make my own notes. I used to revise them 5 to 6 times, and uh, at the exam date, used to happen that I used to remember each and every single word of my notes, which was basically the lines of newspaper. So you can imagine that, you can say that this is perhaps one reason that I scored so well in GS across years. So coming to this question, it says it is from 2017. It reads, The growth of cities as IT hubs has opened up new avenues of employment but has also created new problems. Now, if you remember in 2017, there were too many articles of Bangalore. So Bangalore is a city which is growing massively. It has problems related to urbanization, haphazard growth, pollution, lake pollution, deforestation, etc. So this is the reason that this particular question was asked. Now you have to mention these 4 5 lines that I have told you as news background in this question. It is must. Last line of the slide, you can also mention facts related to a particular question. For example, in this question, if urbanization is the underlying theme, mention 1 or 2 facts related to urbanization, that how much population of India is urbanized. I guess it is around 30%. Just mention that 30% of India's population is urbanized. Quote a report in front of that. Write UNDP as per UNDP. Trust me, nobody is going to check if UNDP has said that or not. So you can bluff. You can bluff, but then do not say that ARC has said that 30% of population is urbanized. Bluff, but then be in your senses. Headings and points. So we have identified different subparts of a question. We'll make separate headings as told in previous sessions. We have to write answer in points. I have told you already. According to me, 1 mark is equal to 1 point. So you have to write 10 points in a 10 marker, 12 points in a 12.5 marker, and 15 points in a 15 marker. Points must be 1 or 2 liner points. There is no need to write 3 or 4 lines in every point. Even a 1 liner, 3 or 4 words, 5 words, 6 words can make a very good point. So focus on dimensions and not on depth. Keywords. As I already told you that keywords are very important for Indian society. What you have to do is you can refer the list that is available on my blog, or go through the study material that is available on my blog and make your own list. The list that I have made and uploaded on blog, Indian society keywords. So I googled sociology keywords from A to Z. So whichever keyword I found relevant or easy to use, I have written in those notes. Similarly, A, B, C till Z, whichever keyword I found easy to use or relevant according to previous year question papers, syllabus, etc., I have mentioned them in the notes. I'll advise you to make your own list. Do not go for ready-made spoon feeding. It is not good, because when you study on your own, you study 10 topics, you make a 1 page note out of it. Trust me, you won't forget those 10 things that you have read. And many a times it happens in UPSC that 1 page note that you have, question won't be asked from that. Question will be asked from those other 10 pages that you read to make those 1 page note. So reading really helps. Do not go for shortcuts. I've already told you to mention 3 or 4 keywords per answer. Do not overdo. This is very important. Your answer should not look like too technical. Uh, my mentor used to tell me that uh, the examiner in GS-1 should not be able to guess your paper, optional. He or she shouldn't be able to guess if you are from history background or geography or society. So your answers of all the 3 papers must be equally good, equally technical. If your option is geography, do not make your answer too technical. If your optional is society, do not make it too technical. Otherwise, it might happen that bias creeps in, negative bias, and then you might get low marks. So do not overdo. Some of the keywords that are mentioned on my blog are acculturation, as we already discussed, feminization of poverty, that uh, people link poverty and female and poverty. So that is feminization of poverty, commodification of women, objectification of women, folk way. I do not even remember the meaning of this word now, but then I have used it in my answers massively. Melting pot is a society like Delhi or Bangalore where different people from different cultures exist together. Pollution and purity is a keyword associated with caste topic. Assimilation I've already discussed before. So this is just 7 or 8 keywords. Uh, my blog details much more than this. Diagrams. So I've already discussed the importance of diagrams in previous videos. I'll again mention it that one diagram is equal to plus 1. 10 diagrams if you're drawing in a paper, it equals to plus 10. 40 diagrams in overall GS means plus 40. And you can be an IAS or you can be writing next pre. And then pre is a very competitive exam. You never know you will be able to clear it again or not. So do not take mains lightly. Grab the opportunity with both hands. So in society, diagrams, map diagram is little tough to draw in society. We discussed about drawing maps in history and geography. You can draw maps in society as well, but then perhaps it is a personal opinion because I could not draw maps in society. But then questions that we'll discuss, we'll try to link map diagram in those questions. Flowcharts are very easy. For example, if you have to mention about population related distribution uh, pattern, so just divide population pattern in 3 categories like high density, middle density and low density, and then write whatever you want to write. So flowcharts can be easily drawn. As I will tell you later, try to draw a box outside diagram just for presentation sake. Try to label it. Blocks and tables. Tables are very useful in society because more and more facts based questions are asked, like sex ratio or migration data, or as we saw in previous question, population density data. So in data related question, data based questions, you can draw tables like I've drawn in this answer. So just write what you want to write and draw a table. This is one way of presenting your data. You need what it is doing, that it is breaking monotony, it is giving examiner something new, it looks attractive, also it is filling up space, more space, so you have to write less. And when you have to write less, it ensures that you are able to complete answer in time, in the given time. So diagrams hence have many advantages. Hub and spoke, we have already discussed it before. I don't think I need to repeat what is hub and spoke and how to draw. It is very common diagram. It can be drawn across GS1, 2, 3, 4 optional essay wherever you want. So let's move to the next slide. Reports. As I have already told, reports is a very important section for society, for entire GS, but very important for society per se. So census, SECC, SDG, UNDP, World Bank. Now I'll tell you some tricks. Whenever you get a question of population, write as per UNDP. Now write whatever you want, does not matter. I want UNDP name in that question. Whenever a question comes related to language, sex ratio, or IMR, MMR, etc., I want census. Data can be wrong. What data you have written might be wrong, but then mentioning the word census 2011 is very important. Similarly, when you get questions related to caste, you can mention socioeconomic caste census. So likewise, there is no need to read these reports. I've always emphasized that what matters is using the reports and not reading them. Similarly, court cases. More and more questions, as I've already told you, have been analytical and linked with post independence issues in India. So, questions on tolerance, questions on secularism, communalism have been asked of late, and there are n number of court cases available. So, now we have to break our uh, stereotypes. We have stereotype court cases with GS2, that we have to mention a court case in GS2, we have to mention ARC in GS2 and not in GS3 or GS1. Who is stopping you? Who has made these stereotypes and benchmarks and borders? I don't know. You can mention court case in GS1 also. If it is relevant, if it is fitting in the question and answer, mention it. So this just broadens your area of reports, court cases. Similarly, committees. We write many committee names in GS2 and in GS3, particularly in security topic. But then why don't you write names of committees in GS1? Even in my answers that we'll discuss, you won't find mention of court cases and committees. But then while I was making this presentation, I realized that this is a gray area. This is not been utilized to its true potential in GS1. So you can do that. Lastly, I don't think I need to repeat the importance of conclusion. One or two lines is all the examiner wants from you. If you don't give even those one or two lines, you are bound to lose 1 or 2 marks. So, conclusion, just summarize your answer in 1 or 2 lines. Presentation, I've already told you have to underline. Box, I've told you. Numbering of diagrams, I mentioned. The reason is that when at the end of the paper examiner sees figure 10, so it is creating a psychological impact on examiner that you have drawn 10 diagrams in this paper. So it might happen that if you are getting 95, you might get 100, 5 marks bonus or grace. Anything can happen. You can take your own chances. Now let us discuss 4 questions. So pattern, you know, now it has been 2 sessions already. This is the third session. So you must be aware of my style of handling a question. So while reading the question, we'll identify keyword migration. The first word itself is a keyword here. Migration is influenced both by pattern of development and social structure. Pattern of development and social structure. Discuss this statement in light of existing migration pattern in India. So this question, as you read it, you have to identify parts of a question. How many parts do you think this question have? Some might say 2 parts only. That is, migration is influenced both by pattern of development, one part, and social structure, second part. But this is also a part of question. You have to discuss whatever you have to discuss in light of existing migration pattern. So we'll start with the question with intro, in which we will define migration and present facts. Existing migration pattern, we'll handle it in the beginning itself. We'll write the word census because I've already told you you need to mention reports. After that, we'll mention the report news background, if any. Uh, Now, in times of coronavirus, we have seen that lot of migration has taken place. So if this question is repeated in 2020 mains, I'll advise you that you can simply write news background of coronavirus in such cases. It is a 12.5 marker question. We have identified 3 parts. So uh, we'll write 12 points. 3 part means 4 points per part. So when you identify more and more subparts in a question, it becomes easy to handle the question. It becomes easy to write more points. More the subpart, lesser number of points you require to write per part. So this is up to you how you develop the skill of identifying subparts. We'll write keywords, at least 4 or 5 keywords. We'll draw a diagram and then conclude. Now let us see the answer. So I started the answer with fact itself. Now this is a personal tendency in me. Uh, I am fond of figures and facts and numbers. Uh, it comes naturally to me. I like maths. I like tables a lot. So numbers, I really like them. So whenever I see a question where I can mention a number or a fact, I ensure that I write it in first couple of lines itself. So that is why I have started with mentioning of facts, but then ideally you should start with the definition of migration. So first here should have been definition and then facts. Do not do it other way, because when examiner is checking your copy, the first thing that he might be expecting is what is migration. So give him that. He is not going to wait. He'll see facts and he might think that, oh, this guy has missed definition of migration. He won't wait for the second paragraph. I have defined it here. So I might make a negative impression in the beginning of question itself, and then all my efforts will go waste. I have mentioned the table of facts. So this is the diagram. These are the facts. This is the definition, and then I have made uh, heading I should have made, which I have not made separately. So due to factors, I should have write factors here as heading. Now factors, question itself has given two factors, developmental and social. Deal them separately. So developmental factors I have written, then 1 point, 2 point, 3 points. And in social structure I have written 5 points and then concluded. So I told you that you have to write 4 or 5 keywords. Now the most important keywords associated with migration are push factor and pull factor. E-migration is also a keyword in itself. So I have mentioned those keywords: push factor, pull factor. Foreign migration is not a keyword. Also, as I told you in geography video, this holds true for society as well, that wherever you find an opportunity to write examples, do write them. Because when we write example, uh, we are giving backing to our answers. We are giving something extra to the examiner. So in pull factor, as I've written, in Delhi, Mumbai, UTs, due to high development and economic prospects, it leads to net in migration. So not only write keywords, write examples as well. Then social structure, I mentioned report, census. Then I mentioned data. I mentioned keywords, Petri local society. Everybody is aware about patriarchal society. Not many are aware about Petri local and Petri lineal. These keywords are available in my notes. You can download them. So you can see that how I have defined, used facts, made a diagram, then used keywords, push factor, pull factor. I've used report of census. I've used another keyword, Petri local. Uh, Here also I'm using a keyword suburbs. Suburbanization is a keyword. It is a process related to urbanization. And lastly, I have concluded. So it was a 12.5 marker question. Uh, Apart from a mistake in beginning where I did not define in the beginning itself, I think I have handled it really well. And this answer should get at least 6 marks, if, if not more, at least 6 I should get. So it is for you yourself to see that how this structure would help you score more. Coming to the next question, the uneven spatial distribution, underline this, of population in India suggests its close relationship with physical, social, and historical factors. Elaborate. 12.5 marker question, 200 words. Now, the question is that you have to elaborate on the view that population is distributed unevenly in India because of factors like physical, social, and historical. So, most of you will say that it has three parts. Uh, I have also written here that this question has three parts, but then if you want to go one step ahead, you can say that no, it is not restricted to physical, social, and historical factors. There can be other factors as well, which you might then write as fourth subpart as other. Fourth heading must be other factors. So this is another way where you are going beyond the question. You are giving something extra, one extra dimension to the examiner. Now there is nothing, no keyword here to define as such. There is no use to define population, no use to define spatial distribution. If you want to define, you can define density, population density. So, and while defining density, mention the number. If I'm not wrong, I think it is 384 or 382 person per square kilometer in India. I've not revised my facts for a while according to 2011 census, and earlier it was 328. So you can cross check this, but while defining, you can mention the facts and then you can mention word census. So it gives you a very good introduction if you do all this. Uh, that is why here I have written write facts related to population, its distribution, name reports like census, UNDP, etc. News background, if any, you can write that. Three parts I have written. It was a 12.5 marker question. 12 marks, three parts means 4 points per part. We'll write keywords. I have already told thinkers related to population. Now, I do not expect non-geography students or non-socio students to know this, but then Marx and Malthus spoke massively about population theories. I, being from geography optional, I clearly remember that I quoted these two somewhere in this question. So you have to fit the thinkers somewhere in your point. It might not be necessary that what those thinkers told about population really fits in the demand of the question, but then you have to show off your technical knowledge. So it is up to you how you create that creativity. Then we'll draw a diagram and conclude. Now let us see the answer. So spatial distribution of population in India according to census 2011 is very uneven. I have not mentioned fact. This is something that I missed. So this is a mistake. Now, as you read my answers, uh, also try to find mistakes, because when you do that, you will learn. I am also recognizing my mistakes as I'm reading them now. So I have not defined, I have not written fact, but then I have written name of report. So it is good enough. But if I had written facts, facts add a lot of weight to your answer. I have drawn this diagram. We saw this previously as well. I have written examples. I have written facts here that population density of Delhi is over 10,000. Here it is 382. So 382 is population density of India. Then the question asked for factors physical, social, and historical. I have made separate headings. Factors for same physical, and I've written 1, 2, 3. 3 points for physical. I've drawn a map. As I told, drawing a map in society is also possible. This is one example uh, in front of you where you can draw a map. I have just presented the population density. High areas are the ones like these which are shaded more. Low population density areas are like northeast and islands of India. So it is a simple diagram. You can draw entire map or you can draw map in parts as told in previous video. Then I have dealt with another part that is social factors, and I have written 3 points again. And for historical factors also I have written 3 points. So overall in question I have written 9 points. I have mentioned word census. I have drawn two diagrams. I have written intro. I have mentioned conclusion. I have given examples. Have I written keywords or not? Let us check now. So there is no keyword here. There is no keyword here. Uh, there is no keyword here either. No keyword. No keyword. So basically, I have missed out on keywords. Now, as told, you should have a list of keywords for each and every topic. Now for population or population is clearly mentioned as a part of syllabus in GS-1. So have 5 keywords, not more, only 5. 5 keywords related to population, 5 keywords related to globalization, 5 for caste, and so on. So whenever you see a question on population, you will, if you have a small list you will clearly remember. If you have 100 keywords you won't remember even one, because you won't be able to revise them. So make a small list. I did not have much keywords related to population, so I could not write an answer. So this is one learning. Have list of keywords, revise them, and whenever you see a question related to it, just write those keywords. So overall still I'll give myself 6 marks because I've handled the question well. Only thing that I've missed is paper specific keywords. Coming to the third question, globalization will end up making all cultures of world homogeneous. Critically examine statement taking example from socio-cultural and economic life in India. I repeat, globalization will end up making all cultures of world homogeneous. Something similar that we had in first or second slide. That are we losing our local identity for global identity? So this is quite similar to what was asked in 2019. Critically examine. Now, when we say critically examine, we have to write both positive as well as negative. That is both in favor of the question and against the question. So, uh, critically examine this statement in light of socio-cultural and economic life in India. Now, this is tricky question. Let us see why. Globalization is a keyword. We'll define it. It is simple. We'll mention Giddens, G for Giddens, G for globalization as thinker. Uh, we have to mention basic effects of globalization because the question says that globalization will end up making the world homogeneous. So how will it make the world homogeneous? It might be having some effects. You have to mention them first. You cannot skip this part. That is why this is tricky. Most of you, I think, would have skipped this part altogether. So you have to mention the effects of globalization in few words. Then parts of this question. Now, as it is written critically examine, and UPSC and the question already has given 2 parts, that is socio-cultural view is one, economic life is one, but you have to answer critically. So when you have to do critically, it itself increases, it doubles the number of parts. So uh, one part is socio-cultural life is affected by globalization. Other part is it is not affected. So one is positive that it is affected, one is negative that it is not affected. Similarly, economic life is affected by globalization and economic life is not affected by globalization. So that gives four parts to this question plus the effects. So if you want me to repeat, uh, so if you want me to repeat, I'll do it because it is a tricky question. So let me again identify the parts of the question. You have to write the effects. Also, you have to critically examine. So when you have to critically examine, it doubles the number of parts of question. So you have to write in favor as well as against the view. So that is why this question has four parts and not just two. And as it has four parts and it is of 12 marks, so you will write 3 points each for every part. Then again, similarly, we'll write keywords and draw a diagram and conclude. So this is the answer. As I told that we have to define, and I have mentioned the name of thinker, that is Giddens. I've defined globalization here, and I have mentioned the effects of globalization here. So while mentioning the effects, I have mentioned keywords like cultural penetration and I have underlined the same. Assimilation I mentioned, acculturation I have mentioned. So this question has definition, it has thinker, it has, and it has keywords also uh, in the first two paragraphs itself. Also, I've drawn a diagram. So the first page would definitely have a very positive impact on examiner. Now I am coming to the parts: socio-cultural life of India, where globalization has impacted. So I have written these points. I have again mentioned examples. I have also mentioned keywords like folkway, cultural relativism. This you will find in my ethics book as well. Uh, I have written keywords like anomy, cultural diffusion, strain theory. Now, these are very technical words. Uh, these can be skipped, but then I wrote because I had them in my notes. Then I've come to second part, that is economic life, how globalization has affected economic life. And I've written here that at the same time, India has spread its socio-cultural and economic spheres across continents. So, as I told that we had to take four views, I took only two views. I forgot that it is critically examined. And I took a completely different view that not only world globalization is impacting India, India is also impacting world. I don't think that this was the right approach. So this wasn't required. This wasn't required. What was required is, as I told you here, that you have to write four views: that globalization is affecting socio-cultural life, it is affecting economic life, it is not affecting socio-cultural life, and it is not affecting economic life. It was a simple question, but in thick of things, I think I might have less time when I was attempting this question. I got it completely wrong. I've uh, written the conclusion though. So I've completely missed out on two parts. It was a 12.5 mark question. I really cannot give myself more than three, because at max I could have got six or seven if my answer was brilliant, but then I have missed out on parts itself. So here you can see that I drew diagram, I wrote thinker, I wrote keywords, I wrote definition, I wrote examples, I have handled two parts. Still you will get less marks because you did not address each and every part of question equally. This is the reason that UPSC gives 50% marks. That A topper also gets 50% marks only. If somehow a person is able to address each and every sub part of question, write each and everything that is required, I am sure that he or she will break 60% mark barrier. In 2017 there were couple of guys who got 500 plus in GS, so that means 125 plus mark in every paper. That is more than 50% marks in every question. So I am sure they must have done really well. Coming on to the last question of the session, what are the factors responsible for high IMR in India? Discuss its implications for Indian women. Steps that have been taken by government. It is a very simple question. There is nothing hidden in this question. Everything that the examiner wants to ask is at display here itself. So IMR is keyword, will define IMR. I've already told you then that in introduction itself we'll write facts wherever we can, and when we write facts we'll quote the report as well. So census, UNDP, you must have read newspapers, current affairs and GS. You need not read the facts about IMR separately. I'm sure you must be aware what are the facts of IMR. So the key here is only and only mentioning the name census. Do not just write that India's IMR is high. Write that India's IMR is high and it is this much as per this report. These two things are important. So there are three parts of the question. What are the factors responsible for high IMR? Implications for women and steps. It is a very easy question. Then you have to write keywords, diagram and conclude. So I have defined IMR here. I have mentioned its number. I have mentioned name of report. I have started with factors. I made a separate heading. I have mentioned 1, 2, 3, 4 factors. I had more factors in mind, so I used a hub and spoke diagram. I told you in previous videos as well that whenever you have to write list out features and you have listed 4 or 5 features and you have more to write, it is better to draw a diagram than to write. So here I have made separate heading for the second part and I have written 6 points for that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I have clearly numbered them. And for last part again I have made a separate heading and written 8 points. So overall in my answer 8 plus 6, that is 14 plus 4, 18 points I have written in this answer. I have made separate headings. I have quoted facts. I have quoted the report. I have written intro. I have made diagram. Let us see if I have mentioned keywords or not. So I think this can be called a keyword, low institutional delivery. It is often a keyword that is used in newspaper editorials. So often I get this question that do we need to read editorials or not? Now here is a point to prove. Food for thought for guys who want to skip editorials and read ready-made material of coaching. I don't think they emphasize on such keywords. They emphasize more on facts than analysis. So it is up to you if you want to develop vocab or not. The best way to develop your vocab is reading newspaper. Another keywords, patriarchy I have written here, so I have 2 keywords. Internalization of crime is a very good keyword. It means that women have internalized crime. What it means that some section of women think that it happens. It is not bad if they are getting beaten. It happens. So that is internalization of crime. They have internalized that it's okay. but then it is not. So that is what is meant by internalization of crime. And so I have three uh, keywords uh, and steps when you are asked to write on a current based issue. It is very important to write uh, policies of government, policies and schemes. So this is what is told in GS2 and GS3. It is not often that such question is asked in GS1, but then when it is asked, do not miss those schemes. Like I have mentioned about food security mission, I have mentioned about JSS, then another scheme, again part of scheme, again scheme. So many schemes I have written, but one thing I'd like to highlight, I have not written what ICDS. I've just mentioned it. Just mentioned Ashas. I don't think this is the right way to do so. At least write 5 words. Nobody's asking you to write 5 lines, but then one word does not make a point. So you can cut these. It might be irritating to examiner. So do not do this mistake that I have done. So overall, still, I have attempted this question quite well. It was a 15 marker question. I have written 18 points and addressed each part. So I think examiner should give me 7, at least 7 in out of 15. So this is the end of session as per me. Uh, if you have any queries related to it, you can join my Telegram group and ask me your queries, or you can visit my blog, you can visit my UPSC channel, YouTube channel. Again, I would like to tell you that I have written a book on ethics, which is already doing quite well. And this is an upcoming book, which I am very hopeful about. So, thank you for joining the session. Happy learning.